Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So as we say goodbye to 2020 and welcome a brand new year, it's time for us to talk about some of the upcoming trends and technologies that we're going to be seeing in the upcoming year. So in this video, I'm going to cover exactly 21 tech and coding industry related trends that you should look out for in 2021. These trends will involve anything from career development, tools and technologies, as well as different types of industries that you should really look out for. So without further ado, let's actually get started. The first thing I want to talk about is actually IoT. So we're going to be seeing tons of IoT jobs and technologies in the upcoming year. We already saw so many in 2020. So everything from smart vehicles to smart homes to smart everything. This is going to be a booming industry and I highly suggest you look into it, especially if you like the more hardware side of things and robotics and all those sorts of things. The next thing on the list is actually cross-platform development. Creating apps that can work on a variety of platforms is a skill that is undeniably really wanted by most companies these days. A lot of smaller companies prefer people to code cross-platform apps by using tools like Flutter or React Native so that they can save and rather than hire, Android engineers versus iOS engineers. So this is definitely something to keep an eye out for. The next thing is actually related to it, and that is native development. So, native development can actually involve cross platform development. This is something very recent because previously native development usually referred to things like iOS and Android development. However, new tools such as React Native, for example, provide native support right by being cross platform. So this is definitely something that has more and more job opportunities every single day. Most businesses these days have apps as well as having websites, so mobile is definitely still a very large industry. The next thing to keep in mind is actually no code and low code products. So recently it's becoming more and more common for us to build things like websites or apps using very simple and intuitive drag and drop interfaces. These interfaces are very easy to use. They enable us to build very nice looking UIs for our websites and actually put so many different features into very complex and modern websites. And I highly suggest for anyone looking to start a startup, even if you're a coder, even if you know JavaScript, look into no code and low code, mainly because it will save you so much time. And if you're trying to have your own startup and you're on your own or you're a very small team, you probably will not have all the capacity to actually engineer a website from scratch. So this is definitely something to keep in mind. Also, if you're not a very techy person but you're into tech, this is another thing that you can look at. The next thing on the list is actually SaaS products, so software as a service. These products have actually been booming recently because they have been generating tons of revenue. These products usually refer to these subscription-based services that you have online. You pay usually like a monthly amount or a yearly amount, and in return you get some sort of service that makes your life easier. If you're a developer, look into developing SaaS products. These products can actually turn into companies on their own. The next thing is database as a service. Now, you know my channel, it's full of videos related to databases and tutorials. So databases as a service are something that has been really common recently, and they really take all the heavy lifting related to databases and the cloud, and they make everything so much easier. Check out Amazon's SimpleDB for more information on this. Also check out a video I'll be putting out very soon related to databases as a service. The next thing is easier to use AI. So you can observe a trend so far in most of the things I've listed is that things have just been trying to get more and more easier for everyone to be able to use them. Things are becoming more accessible, things are becoming very less like time consuming, you could say. We want to be able to build apps in the smallest amount of time. We want to use databases without the heavy lifting. And this is very similar. We want to use AI without all the math, without all the headaches. Just expect more and more easy to use AI, easy to use maybe black boxes using AI. So keep that in mind. The next thing is chatbots and customer service assistants. This is crazy. There are so much demands for this type of thing. You can actually find so many job opportunities just for creating chatbots. So there is no such thing as a chatbot engineer, but this has become a recurring role that I've seen so much recently. And it's simply just to create chatbots and offer them to companies who kind of don't want the trouble of having actual real human people be like their customer service assistants or their receptionists and all those things. So really this is something that is super amazing, and actually look into it if you're into maybe NLP. Next thing is more remote work. So something we saw in the pandemic world that we lived in 2020 is that remote work really became somewhat the norm for almost everyone worldwide. We really got used to working from home. We got used to doing multiple things on the side while working. I know so many people who have really testified this, and they've said that while working from home they started having side hustles or maybe a YouTube channel or a blog, and this is something has really helped tons of people, especially us. Like, you are part of the tech industry, you are part of the coding industry. So why not exploit that? Exploit the strength that you had in this era. So in the pandemic era, you had a strength versus other types of jobs. And I do not mean to say that, tech is better than any type of job or anything, but it was just somewhat convenient for tech people. And a lot of people chose, they said they really like remote work. So this is one thing to look out for. Even if the pandemic hopefully gets much better and we have vaccines everywhere, we're still going to see tons of remote work. The next thing is more freelance opportunities. So this is actually related to number 9. The reason there are more freelance opportunities is that people do trust the online workplace much more. So rather than maybe 5 years ago, you're now more likely to trust a stranger on the internet to build a website for you in a couple of days than you were 5 years ago. This is because of the culture of remote work, of internet work, of internet skills such as coding, design, marketing, all those things. So just keep on the lookout. There are more freelance opportunities. This is something that you should benefit from. Next thing is outsourcing. So this is also related to number 9 and number 10. So outsourcing, because of the pandemic era, because we trust remote work more now, because we trust online work more now, companies worldwide have been outsourcing to maybe developing or third world countries to actually get engineers to do their jobs for them for a much cheaper price. Now, if you do live in a developing country, this is definitely good news because jobs in first world countries were pretty much way harder to get a few years ago. Now, I know that, it's really hard to have jobs these days and employment is not really the best thing out there right now, and a lot of companies have budget cuts. However, outsourcing via contracts, via freelancing has been very common. So, hiring people from abroad to do some work for you, at least this is what I've observed. I too live somewhere where it's not really as accessible to work for companies worldwide, but I'm seeing that this is more and more common and this is getting much better. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The next thing is edtech. So this is an industry. So edtech is an industry just like fintech, and while fintech is financial tech and all that, edtech refers to tech in education. So tech in education has been booming for very obvious reasons that schools moved online, everyone was learning online, and the existing tools were not very ready for the amount of students who all moved online. So developing new tools related to edtech, which I'm sure a lot of companies are doing right now, is definitely a way to make money in 2021. So, if you're looking for a startup idea, I would say this is a very good industry to look into. And we're definitely going to see very new startups up and coming in this industry. Now, the next thing is blockchain development. So we all heard that Bitcoin really peaked right before 2021, so in December. And so tons of companies now are looking into blockchain, and you're going to see much more opportunities for blockchain development. If this is something you want to learn, go ahead, learn it, because I don't think you're going to be losing here, because definitely you're going to have a bunch of job opportunities. The next thing is product management and product development. So this is actually a role in companies that has been really increasing in amount in the last few years. So people really trust product managers to take their products from 0 till 100. What people want is someone to really have a vision. And even if you're a software engineer, do not rule out this option. If you're a software engineer, you might one day find yourself working as a product manager, or a product developer actually. Having a vision for a product and just seeing how it's going to move from A to Z. And really, this is something that you would not lose, because there's tons of job opportunities in product management. The next thing is e-commerce. So every shop ever now has an online site. Now, you might think that all shops usually had online sites before. Now, that may be true, but more and more are actually moving online to e-commerce. Another thing actually to keep in mind is if you are in a very cash-based country. Because in these countries, they're very cash dependent, so it's very hard to move so many shops who really rely on cash and not actual credit card payments into the online world, but more and more of them are actually trying to. So e commerce jobs will be very popular in developing countries, especially those who really mostly relied on cash and in person transactions prior to the pandemic. But now, obviously, after the pandemic, they are moving online. Which brings me to my next point, online everything. So every service that you can think of that has been in person is probably moving online in one way or another. This is because of the pandemic. A lot of these things on this page that you can see are related to the pandemic, but mainly this is not something to hide behind. Definitely online everything. The next thing is progressive web apps. So this is also an industry that has been very recent. It has been a keyword that was really thrown around a lot in 2020 and in 2019, but this is just something that has been really trending and you should definitely see more and more of it in 2021. Now the next thing is new project management tools. So now we're shifting a bit from actually the developer technical type things to things related to the workplace. Because people worked online, because they worked remotely, it was very hard to maintain a very solid workflow. Employers were scared that people would be not very productive, and they were scared they couldn't really monitor their employees, those sorts of things. There are more and more product management tools coming out, but really there are some of them that have been really staples for the last year and that everyone has been using. Would I suggest please try learning some of these before you apply to jobs? Why do I say this? Because it's not only your technical skills that will give you an advantage, these things, they definitely make you more employable as well. The next thing is emphasis on productive workflows. So this is very similar to what I just said. So different types of workflows and things like test-driven development or continuous integration, these things are very important and they will be trending in 2021 because people are very concerned about their type of workflows. We will also be seeing new types of workflows emerge, so new terms that we haven't heard of before, and we'll be hearing of them in this coming year. The second to last thing is actually digital portfolios. So if you're still relying on a resume, I want to really highly encourage you to please have a digital portfolio. Even if you're just going to put a bunch of really stupid apps that you copied from tutorials, I don't care. This is still something you worked on, something you learned. Just go ahead, make a digital portfolio. Employers are really looking at your portfolios these days, and there's so much that you can convey through a website that you can't convey through a resume, especially maybe a one-page resume for the students out there who are told to have a one-page resume. And the last thing that's going to be trending in 2021 is actually perseverance, resilience, and adaptability. So this is something we saw tons of in 2020. We all went through very dark days with the pandemic and with everything that happened worldwide, with the economies and everything else. So, if anything, it has made everyone much more resilient and adaptable. People in the workplace adapted to things and circumstances that they did not expect, like moving completely remote or doing things in a very different way. So, this is definitely a skill that we've gained and is definitely not lost because it is something that really makes us better individuals. Finally, following all these trends that I've covered, and I really hope you enjoyed these and you're actually looking forward to the very brand new year. Finally, I have some tips and advice. So, the first tip I have is to always stay open minded, even if something in your workplace really shifts completely and things are much different. Next thing is be a lifelong learner. Always, so there's always new technologies. If you're, an Android Studio developer, but now you're learning Flutter, be like that. Always learn new technologies, even if you're not actually going to use them. But it's really good to be open minded and a lifelong learner. The next thing is read news, watch YouTube, and stay up to date. So, there's going to be comprehensive videos like this everywhere on YouTube. Keep those in mind and actually use those to stay up to date with the industry, with jobs, with skills that you need to learn. And things are really becoming more accessible for you, especially if you're a freelancer. You're going to find more and more freelance jobs, more demand for internet skills, things like designing, developing, marketing here and there, internet skills, UI design, graphic design, building a website, an app, even if it's no code or low code. These things will be just there more and more, and it's just going to be more accessible for you no matter where you live. And the next thing is that people have gained trust in online remote work, which means you can work for virtually any company worldwide. given that you pass their interviews, you have a good agreement on your work authorization and all that, and you're definitely good to go. So take advantage of that. Of course, apply to companies wherever you like, especially if you enjoy remote work. And finally, learn marketable internet skills. So these internet skills are actually going to put you out there for these remote companies that I'm talking about for this freelancing. I'm still going to emphasize this more and more because this is something that changed people's lives in 2020, where they just started freelancing, started doing these things for these companies, and really got something out of it. And really, just do what you love, just make the most of it. I know it's quarantine and people are sad and it really sucks for everyone. I really do get that. But do something you like. If even if you wake up one day and you're like, I don't want to code today, I mean, unless you have a job, it's fine. That's definitely fine. Take a break when you need one. And yeah, Happy New Year. So, see you in the next video.